My name is Layla Mercer, and today, I'm standing in a courtroom defending myself. The irony, the person who dragged me here isn't a stranger or some greedy distant cousin. It's my own daughter, Camila Brooks, sitting across from me in her tailored black suit, her husband Brandon at her side, whispering like they're about to close a business deal. They think this is the day they prove I've lost my mind. Brandon looks at me with that smirk he saves for people he underestimates women. Mostly, Camila avoids my eyes, pretending she's doing this out of love. I see the way her fingers tremble. Though, guilt, fear, or maybe the first crack in her perfect facade. The judge hasn't even taken the bench yet, and already the air is thick with judgment. I can hear the quiet laughter behind me, the kind reserved for old women who dare to walk in without a lawyer. But what no one here seems to remember is that before I was mom, before I ran a small bookstore by the harbor, I had another life. I spent 20 years dissecting corporate fraud for the Department of Justice. I've seen men like Brandon try to bury the truth under paperwork, and women like my daughter get swept up in their schemes. So yes, I'm representing myself. And no, I'm not confused. Still, I play along. I let them think I'm the fragile widow who doesn't know where to sign. When the judge finally enters, the room straightens. She glances at me, just a flicker of recognition, and I know she remembers. Not the bookstore owner, not the grieving wife, the investigator who once trained her on financial deception. Tell me, if your own child turned you into the enemy, would you fight back or let them win? The moment the clerk calls the case, Joel Sutton rises like he's about to perform on stage. He's the kind of lawyer who mistakes arrogance for skill. His voice smooth but hollow. Your Honor, he begins. This is a case of an elderly widow suffering cognitive decline, manipulated into an unnatural will. His tone drips with false sympathy. As if reading a eulogy rather than attacking a living woman, Brandon sits beside Camila, a hand resting on her knee, an act for the court. His watch gleams under the lights. His expression rehearsed. He nods, along with every word Sutton says, as though this performance will earn him his prize, my husband's $60 million estate. Camila keeps her eyes low, pretending not to see the greed sitting right next to her. I let them talk. Let them weave their little story about the helpless widow, too fragile to understand money. They list every symptom they can find me, asking for help with online banking. Are me forgetting a password? Me losing my way once on a detour. Each detail carefully polished to sound like dementia. The narrative is clear. Strip me of control. Déclarez-moi incompétent. And seize what's left of Robert's fortune. When Sutton finishes, I stand. My voice doesn't rise. It doesn't have to. I tell the court that I understand their request perfectly. They're asking to appoint Brandon Pierce as my temporary conservator, the man who once borrowed $210,000 from me and never paid it back. The file I hand to the clerk is thin, but it's heavy with proof. Every transfer, every broken promise, every signature in his name. The courtroom shifts. Brandon's jaw tightens. Camila looks like she's been slapped by her own reflection. For years, they assumed I wasn't paying attention. They were wrong. I meet my daughter's eyes for the first time that day. You wanted to protect me, I say quietly. But from who? Camila, the danger outside, or the one sitting beside you? Tell me. When protection turns into control, is it still love or just greed with better manners? Joel Sutton shifts his papers like a magician about to pull a trick from thin air. He asks the judge to order a neurological evaluation, citing concerns about Mrs. Mercer's mental stability. His voice oozes politeness. But every word is a dagger, aimed at my credibility. The courtroom hums quietly, feeding on the idea that age must equal incompetence. Judge Helena Rhodes leans forward, her tone calm but sharp. She asks for supporting evidence, medical records, psychological reports, anything beyond gossip and family complaints. Sutton hesitates, the first crack in his confidence showing all he has are anecdotes and assumptions, nothing that would survive cross-examination. He rises slowly, holding a slim folder. Inside are copies of my teaching credentials from Newport Community College and graded assignments from my students. Each paper bears my handwriting and signature, dated just last week. I tell the court these are the marks of a mind that still calculates probabilities and teaches statistical modeling, not a woman lost in confusion. Helena examines the documents with a faint nod. Brandon shifts in his seat, his knee bouncing like he's fighting an urge to run. Camila looks smaller now, trapped between the story she helped build and the truth unraveling in front of her. The air thickens, not with pity, but with realization. Sutton tries to recover, insisting that intelligence doesn't rule out emotional instability. I meet his gaze and tell him instability isn't measured by how much one refuses to be manipulated. For years, my family assumed my silence meant weakness. It was restraint, not ignorance. The courtroom falls into a hush that feels almost reverent. I turn to the judge. Your Honor, I say, it seems the only thing fragile in this case is their evidence. Helena smiles faintly, then turns her attention back to Sutton. The law, once his weapon, now cuts in the opposite direction. Tell me, if defending your sanity makes others uncomfortable, does that make you unstable or simply awake? The judge calls for a short recess, but I ask to speak before the break. My voice stays even, though I feel the sting of years behind my ribs. I turn towards Camila, not as the defendant, but as her mother. Tell me, I say, are you afraid I'll lose the money? Or afraid you won't control it? Camila flinches, her eyes darting toward Brandon, searching for rescue that doesn't come. For a moment, I see the little girl who once hid behind my skirt during thunderstorms. But the woman in front of me wears a mask made of pride and fear. A mask Brandon helped her build. I watch her swallow hard, pretending she doesn't understand the question. I reach for another folder, one the court hasn't seen yet. Inside is a single printed email, dated 3 weeks after Robert's funeral. Camila's message, written in haste, begging me to transfer $85,000 for one of Brandon's urgent investments. The subject line reads, "Trust me. Mom, this will secure our future." The courtroom grows still, the kind of silence that only truth can command. Camila's voice trembles as she tries to explain, but the damage is done. The email isn't about grief or concern, it's about desperation. Her husband's business was failing, and she was willing to gamble her father's legacy to save his pride. The realization flickers in her eyes like a light breaking through fog. I speak softly now, because cruelty isn't the point. I raised you to be strong, not dependent on men who see you as a pawn. The words land somewhere between love and indictment. For the first time, she looks at me, not through me. Tell me, when love turns into leverage, can family still survive the price of loyalty? During the recess, Joel Sutton huddles with Brandon near the back of the courtroom. Their voices are low but not low enough. I can see the irritation in Sutton's eyes. The way Brandon keeps glancing toward the hallway where Sloane Avery, his paralegal, waits with her phone clutched too tightly. It's the look of a man whose lies are starting to sweat. When court resumes, I ask permission to submit new evidence. Sutton objects immediately, but Judge Rhodes allows it. I walk to the front table, calm and deliberate, and place a printed transcript of text messages on the record. Every word was recovered from the family iCloud, an account my late husband, Robert, created years ago, listing me as administrator. The messages are between Brandon Pierce and Sloan Avery. The first few lines are harmless enough logistics. Scheduling, the kind of chatter lawyers share. Then the tone shifts. Brandon's words drip with intimacy, ending one thread with odd. Once the old lady's declared unfit. It's ours. A heart emoji follows. Then a photo, him and Sloan in his car, hands tangled. Where wedding rings should be. The courtroom freezes. Camila's face drains of color as the whispers begin to rise, like static. Sutton tries to recover, stammering about privacy violations. But I speak first. The conversation took place in my home Wi-Fi network. Under my family plan, one-party consent is entirely legal in this state. My voice doesn't shake, because I am not ashamed of the truth. I remind the court that deceit thrives only where people assume the elderly are blind. Camila sits perfectly still, tears filling the silence. For the first time, she sees the man beside her for what he is, a parasite, dressed as a savior. Brandon's mask cracks as he mutters something under his breath. But no one rescues him this time. Tell me, when betrayal hides behind the word protection, is the real crime infidelity, or the assumption that love makes us blind? The room feels colder when the session resumes, as if the truth itself has drawn every ounce of warmth away. Brandon keeps whispering to Sutton, his jaw clenched tight, while Camila sits apart, hollowed by what she's seen. I stand again, holding another document, a certified notice from the bank that has managed my late husband's estate since before his death. It's time to close the trap he helped me build. I inform the court that a protective trust clause, drafted by Robert and activated upon any legal petition against me, has now gone into effect. Every account, every investment, and every property under my name is frozen inside that trust until the court's final decision. Even if a temporary conservatorship were granted, no one could withdraw a single dollar without dual authorization from two independent trustees. The look on Brandon's face is pure panic, dressed in arrogance. Sutton demands to see the document, flipping through the pages like he might find a loophole that isn't there. Judge Rhodes reads quietly, then lifts her eyes. It appears, she says, that Mrs. Blonde, Mercer's late husband, anticipated precisely this scenario. The statement lands like a verdict before the verdict. I can see Brandon's control unraveling, one twitch at a time. And then, without meaning to, he speaks the words that end his case. That means the Marina project is dead. He blurts, forgetting where he is. Sutton closes his eyes as if praying for a miracle. I almost feel sorry for them, almost. Tell me, when foresight is labeled manipulation, who truly holds the power, the one who built the cage, or the one who walked into it willingly? Camila asks to speak. Her voice shakes like glass about to crack. But she stands anyway. She tells the judge she isn't sure what she believes anymore, that maybe her mother isn't confused. Maybe she's been underestimated. The words come out slow, as if she's swallowing years of pride between each one. I watch her carefully, not as a defendant, but as a mother, recognizing her child's first moment of truth. It isn't victory, I feel. It's something heavier. Quieter. She admits that Brandon encouraged every step of this lawsuit, that she let him convince her I was losing my mind. It's not an apology. Not yet. But it's the closest thing to courage she's shown in years. I hand the judge one last piece of evidence, a recording from my living room, taken a month before the lawsuit began. Brandon's voice fills the speakers. Just get her to sign the blank papers. And we'll move the $300,000 before she knows what's happening." The sound of his laughter chills the air. Camila covers her face. The courtroom frozen in silence. I could look triumphant, but I don't. I simply fold my hands and let the silence do the talking. Because this was never about destroying her, it was about forcing her to see. Tell me, when a mother builds a trap to protect her child from the person she loves, does that make her heartless, or the only one still fighting for her? Judge Helena Rhodes removes her glasses and folds her hands. The courtroom, so still it feels airless. Her ruling is calm, deliberate, every word landing with the weight of finality. The petition to declare me incompetent is denied in full. She concludes that I've shown not only full mental capacity, but also exceptional comprehension of law and fiduciary ethics. Her gaze shifts toward the plaintiff's table. She states that the court finds credible evidence of manipulation and potential financial coercion on the part of Brandon Pierce. She orders that the matter be referred to the district attorney for investigation into attempted fraud and elder financial abuse. The words hang in the air like a sentence no one expected to hear. Sutton looks pale, his reputation quietly unraveling. Camila is trembling, tears falling silently as Brandon curses under his breath. The bailiff moves closer when Brandon slams a file shut, but he doesn't speak again. Justice, for once, feels neither cold nor cruel, only exact. I remain standing while the gavel strikes. It sounds less like punishment and more like closure. Tell me, when truth cuts this deep, is it vengeance or just the sound of balance being restored? Weeks pass before I see Camila again. She comes to my bookstore one quiet morning, her face thinner, her voice subdued. There's no arrogance left, only remorse that time has carved into something almost tender. She asks if forgiveness is possible, and for the first time, I don't hear manipulation in her tone, just exhaustion. I tell her forgiveness isn't a gift, it's a contract. One she has to earn. I offer her a role managing the scholarship fund Robert established years ago, now revived in his name. It pays nothing but demands honesty, quarterly reports, and full transparency. Camila nods, tears slipping silently, the weight of accountability finally sinking in. Brandon's world collapses quietly. His brokerage license is suspended pending investigation, and his so-called marina project is frozen indefinitely. Sloane Avery vanishes from public view, her name whispering through legal circles like a warning. Even Joel Sutton retreats from the case, his arrogance replaced by silence. Justice doesn't need fireworks. Sometimes it's just the sound of doors closing. At night, I sit by Robert's old desk, the ocean wind brushing against the open window. I've won. But the victory doesn't taste sweet, it tastes necessary. Tell me, when redemption and punishment start to look the same, which one truly heals the wound? 6 months later, I sell the big house and move into a small cottage overlooking the water. The bookstore still opens each morning, smelling of salt and paper, the way Robert liked it. Camila visits sometimes. Quieter now, her hands steady when she organizes the scholarship files. We don't talk about the courtroom anymore, but every silence between us feels like a fragile kind of rebuilding. I spend my days teaching again, helping people who think their best years are behind them. Justice gave me peace, but truth gave me purpose. Maybe that's what Robert meant when he said love must have structure, even when it hurts. Tell me, if you had to choose between peace and control, which would you protect? Thank you for listening to my story. Share your thoughts below because every voice, even the quiet ones, can change how justice sounds.